Welcome to the DraftKings Daily Trot. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. It's a Saturday, sweaty, hot, muggy afternoon.
Sultry. It's sultry sweet.
It's hot. I mean, we're here in the Northeast. I mean, I feel like you and I, we're just dragging ass trying to just get by on the day. I mean,
Well, that sounds like not me. I actually just got back from a marathon and a 5K. I ran straight in, like they connected. So they were at the same spot. So I ran the marathon and then I just kept running straight to the 5K. And here we are now. I'm parched, but for you guys.
yeah, I mean, it's like 87 degrees in my room right now. It's muggy. I mean, I don't have the AC running. I have windows open, but we're here. We're prepping early for the Sunday slate, trying to get ready.
Absolutely.
So it's a good day. I mean, I feel like there's enough pitchers to make do, but also there is a good amount of targets you can kind of target against.
Absolutely.
So. Jumping into the first game here, you do have the Yankees and Giants. Jeff Samardzija is pitching. It's not Johnny Cueto. Nathan Eovaldi pitching for the Yankees. I think you got to like the Giants' bats here. I mean, against Eovaldi, and I think Brandon Belt at 3.6 is a really good value play. I mean, there's a lot of discount there for someone who's facing a pitcher who's really struggled against left-handers.
Yeah, and again, we're not really targeting either of these arms. I mean, unless you're targeting Samardzija, which I can't see. But yeah, I think we're definitely looking at Belt here, maybe a little Crawford, even though he's overpriced. I think that 3.45 is kind of appealing. I even like a little Posey. So I'm not the Giants hater that I normally am. So that's a pretty decent matchup. But on the other side, I think they're pretty intriguing considering their prices. Pretty cheap for a team projected for almost 5 runs.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to last year and you look at Samardzija. I mean, he struggled against left-handers. So I really don't mind an Ellsbury, Beltran, McCann, and this must be just due to the fact that they might have thought Cueto was pitching.
Right.
So I think we do need to kind of take advantage of it. I really don't mind those bets. Garner's the only one who I think is really overpriced, but obviously I do think they're in play, and Mark Teixeira at 3-1, intriguing kind of GPP option.
Definitely.
So overall, I think that game could be kind of a really nice source of value and even top price plays as far as like guys like Posey or Pagan or Crawford.
Yeah, I mean, really the lefties in this game are pretty appealing. I mean, Span and Crawford are expensive, but just as plays in general, appealing.
Yeah, definitely. So I think 1 through 5 really on both sides is kind of a good aspect of where to attack today. Mariners Blue Jays, next one here, you got J.A. Happ and Wade Miley, 2 lefties on the hill. And the first thing that jumped out at me was the Nelson Cruz price at 4.2. Anytime Nelson Cruz faces a lefty, I mean, he becomes an easy plug and play. And then when you price him down like that, I think he's a very attractive option there.
Yeah, you'd expect him to be at least like 48 or something normally. So yeah, you definitely like that. Obviously, Happ isn't a weak arm or anything like that, but I think you can definitely plug away with Cruz. I don't know if he's quite cash, but he's right in that range. He's on the border between that, so I feel pretty comfortable with him.
Yeah, I definitely do too, and I'm not really on board with a lot of these Mariners bats. I mean, just because there are a fair amount of lefties. I mean, you might be able to look at like a Dae-Ho Lee, maybe a Chris Iannetta. I don't mind those right-handed bats against Happ, but I think guys like Cano and Seager and maybe a few of the other lefty or switch hitters are kind of off the table for me.
Now, in the same respect, if Happ can get through Cruz, is this kind of intriguing? I'm a little intrigued here. I feel like he's got a good shot at a win. A little overpriced. I would have liked him in the 8K range a little more, but I think he's kind of a deeper tournament SP2.
Given the fact that he is priced $200 cheaper than John Lester, that's where I draw the line. As you mentioned, it's overpriced for me. If he was in the 8K range, I wouldn't hate the matchup because he's dazzled me before where I've stacked against him and he's completely let me down in that aspect. And he has been a quality arm. I mean, he's come out of Pittsburgh and pitched relatively well, better than I expected in Toronto.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, hey, can't deny those 25 strikeouts in the last three appearances. But yeah, I mean, it is still a risk. More of a deep tournament type.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as the Blue Jays side, I think you got to like really every right-handed bat in this lineup here, and even the lefties. I don't mind. You just look at Wade Miley. I mean, very average left-handed pitcher. I mean, obviously Donaldson's expensive, Encarnacion are expensive, but you got to like that. I even don't mind a Tulowitzki or a Pilar or a Devin Travis. I mean, I really like attacking this Jays lineup. I mean, really top through bottom.
Yeah, I'm putting a little weight on the viewers' shoulders today. You guys should know by now, lefty against the Blue Jays means you're probably going to want to play Donaldson and Encarnacion. You know, that's just normally. I trust that the viewers, our smart community, knows that already.
Yeah, I mean they do. I don't think we really need to dive too deep into it.
No.
So, Diamondbacks and the Reds in this one here. I mean, I love this game. I think this one on both sides is something I'm going to be targeting heavily. We can start with the Diamondbacks, and we can start with those right-handed bats against a lefty that's been pretty much money this year. Obviously, they're priced up. I mean, you look at a Wellington Castillo at 5.2, a Goldschmidt at 5.3. They're definitely priced up to they're where you expect them to be. But given the fact that pitching is not too expensive today, I do think you can kind of make some one-offs or even a stack here.
It's so much different than yesterday. You can really get these stacks in and feel relatively comfortable. So I don't mind this. I mean, again, I think if you want to pay up for this Diamondbacks team, then you just start with that stack and build around it, you know? So you're not really worried about the price as much if you like the matchup. So yeah, Goldschmidt, you have to really like him as a high-end option tonight, even at his extended price.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Finnegan, I mean, 330 WOBA allowed to righties since last year, a big time 1.79 home runs per nine. In that ballpark, I mean, it is a step away from Chase Field, but obviously it definitely benefits the hitters. So I think really you can look at these right-handed bats and feel pretty comfortable.
Yep. So do the 1-3-5, the 1-3-5 step.
Yeah.
The 1-2 step like Missy Elliott, except it's the 1-3-5 Diamondback step.
And I don't even mind some back-end options if Brandon Drury or Yasmani Tomas are in the lineup. Yep. I think those are intriguing GPP options.
Definitely.
As far as the Red side, I mean, Billy Hamilton received a monster jump. I mean, he's 4,900. I mean, we got that stolen base upside. I mean, Votto's 5.4. Jay Bruce and Adam Duvall are kind of appropriately priced. I mean, I like the Reds here, but when I jumped into this slate, it felt like, whoa, okay, that price did jump up from where I've been targeting the last couple of weeks.
Billy Hamilton has been rolling lately, so I kind of get it, but that's a little extreme for me. I mean, 6 stolen bases in the last 4 games, so that's pretty good, but he does have to get on base. So I like Bruce and Duvall. That's kind of what I'm looking at there, but I mean, you can always throw Votto in there at 5.4. Obviously, been hot of late.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think maybe Adam Duvall might be my favorite. And even as that Cozart, I mean, usually Cozart's the more expensive one that we kind of are just kind of off of just because of price considered. But
Duvall's been better against righties this year. So I think that's kind of something that might go under the radar a little bit. He's actually better against righties than he is lefties, especially with power considered. So, yeah, definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I think the way we've kind of gushed about hitters here, it's obvious that we're not taking pitchers in this game at all.
No, definitely not.
Mets Marlins, this next one here, Steven Matz versus Jose Urena. Steven Matz, I think, is an intriguing option as far as the GPP goes, just because he is priced down a little bit, 8,300. I feel like there is a little less risk, and I think by Russell's kind of deep side there, he might feel a little bit iffier than I do.
No, it's like, all right, Matz, you got me again. I'm in. I'm probably like, I like it. I like the matchup. I like this in general, but you just can't feel comfortable after sort of the results of the last couple of starts here. And by couple, I mean getting up there to be 4 or 5 or 6 in a row now. But I mean, it is Matz. You just hope that he's healthy. If so, I think he's worth a tournament jump at 8,300.
So with that being said, I mean, I know the last few starts have definitely been not Matt's like, but given the drop down in price, I mean, does that
Yeah.
feel it's a little bit more worth it? He pops up on your
Yeah.
radar a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely the pay down. And I mean, there's that potential there and the potential low ownership as well. So there's a few factors that are pointing that way. I think people are going to be off him. So definitely an interesting direction to go.
So I mean, we can talk Marlins bats next. I mean, Stanton 4-1, Ozuna 4-3. I mean, those are two right-handed bats that have pounded left-handed pitching.
Mm.
It just seems like that's kind of GPP territory in general, as far as heading in that way. Where those three names, as far as Matt, Stanton, Ozuna, is what you want to worry for. But they're at the prices. I can see it kind of going both ways.
Yeah, I find it strange that Prado is priced up higher than Stanton and Ozuna. That's pretty bizarre to me. But yeah, I mean the righties in that lineup definitely have some upside, as we talked about with Mats. There has been some downside of late, so I think you could really go either way with that one, which means it's kind of a gray area tournament type situation with Mats and the Marlins.
Yeah, definitely. And I think looking at the Met side of things, I really like their prices. I think they're a really intriguing bunch today. Really kind of your Jose Reyes, your Granderson Cespedes type, and even a Walker at 3K, certainly intriguing. And Urinas hasn't been a guy who has really limited both sides of the plate. I mean, both sides have hit him relatively well. So I think they serve a lot of value. I mean, Vegas has them at 4.4 runs. I don't mind them today.
Yeah, I like the Neil Walker and the Loney and the Asdrubal Cabrera. I don't know how I feel about Cespedes and Granderson, but I could understand in a tournament sense why you'd want to bump them up over 4K and pay for that. So I do respect that. But I kind of like going with the one-offs from this lineup a little bit more than an actual stack.
Yeah, no, I could see kind of just working in maybe one or two of them into a lineup
Yeah.
more than using them as a full complete go around.
So like I would be okay with Cespedes as a tournament one-off, but I would prefer Neil Walker sort of at for 1,100 less, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And Jose Reyes, I mean, interesting value play. I mean, he's showing that he can get on base and kind of steal some bases here. He's kind of proven that he could be DFS relevant here.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think this game overall. I mean, I know it's probably not the most appealing total, but I think there is some options here.
Yeah. Again, on the outset, not that appealing, but some nice prices.
Yeah, in consideration to the slate, it will be one that gets overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
Pirates and Phillies next one here, and for me, it's much more about the pitching than it is about the hitters. I really like both sides of pitching here. I mean, obviously, Talion, a favorite here, going up against a weak Phillies offense that ranks bottom 5 in WOBA, decent strikeout rate. You got to like him as a favorite. I think he's a decent cash game arm for me as an SP2 here on DraftKings, just given the price and the respective arms around him. And Velasquez goes, I mean, he's more expensive, but I mean, as far as the strikeout rate goes against this Pirates offense that's really trending downwards, I don't expect really a lot of runs on both sides of the teams here.
Yeah, what am I missing with Vegas here? They have the Pirates projected for 4.5 runs. I mean, Velasquez, he hasn't been like on fire of late, but he hasn't been allowing a ton of earned runs either. So I'm interested what that's representing actually. Obviously they like Talion too. I do as well. I think he's a pretty interesting cash arm against the Phillies. But I think Vincent Velasquez, you might benefit from playing him in that ownership percentage. I think that's pretty intriguing to me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I first jumped in, I saw he was on the slate. I mean, I didn't want to target Pirates against him. I mean, I'm not looking at guys going up against a guy who with a very high strikeout rate. I think the upside's certainly there. I think Tallion's a little bit safer just given the matchup and the fact that he is a small favorite, minus 142. But I'm looking at these lineups. I mean, I can't really see anyone on a full slate like this that I can get behind using his hitters.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is kind of just you walk right by this one.
Yeah, I think pitchers is kind of the only thing that you really consider here.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Padres and Nationals, Lucas Giolito versus Christian Frederick, and we can jump with the National side here first. I think you got to like a lot of the right-handers against him. I think you got to love a Jason Worth at 4-4. a Wilson Ramos at 4-1, Rendon, Trey Turner 4-2-3-6. Definitely a lot of options here in this Nationals team, kind of in a moderate price range.
I think I'm pretty excited about this one. I mean, we've liked the Nationals for a few days here now, and I think this just opens up even more of this lineup. I'm okay with paying up for Murphy and Harper. You got to like that Harper price, even lefty on lefty. I'm not too worried about Christian Frederich. But yeah, Jason Worth, gotta love him. He's probably in cash game consideration for me. And then Ramos as well. So I'm down for a 1 through 5 stack with that team.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're really solid plays here against Frederich, who's, I mean, obviously he's been pretty much remotely average. And you look at this Nationals team, they are good against left-handed pitching.
Right. Yeah. I mean, average. And well, that's a little generous. He's a little below average. He's given up about a homer a game and about 3 to 4 earned a game. So he's a little bit.
Let's take into consideration he has been in Coors for most of his starts in his career. So
yeah, no, I know.
I bump him down to a little bit of an average left-handed.
That's fair. You know what? We're a giving podcast. I can respect that.
Yeah, and on the other side, I mean, I like Lucas Giolito as a GPP option against this Padres team that strikes out quite a bit. I mean, near 24%. You got to like the fact that he's only 7,600. As far as using guys against him, I really don't mind taking some shots in deep tournament aspects because he is a young right-hander. And you got to look at Kempen Myers and Solarte and even a Melvin Upton who have handled the bat well at times this year. So I don't hate using Padres. I think it's just the GPP aspect on both sides.
I think Kemp is really the one you zero in on here. For some reason, even though he's 22 homers into the season, he's 3,400 against the non-ace. So I don't know why that is, but I'd imagine he's going to at least continue on a somewhat similar pace. So I'm not afraid of Giolito. Obviously, gave up 2 homers his last start, which was a while ago. I think he's pretty intriguing from a tournament sense, like you mentioned.
Yeah, it's definitely just a GPP play on both sides, really.
Right.
Moving on to the Sox and Twins here, and Rick Porcello versus Tommy Malone. Rick Porcello, I mean, priced up a little bit, 92. I don't mind him just because he is a heavy favorite, minus 220. Twins projected for under 4 runs. And Porcello's been pretty solid at home. I do think he does turn in a quality start. I do wish he was cheaper, but given there are a lack of cash game options, I don't mind Porcello here.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, you got to like that matchup against the Twins. Obviously, lefties are the ones where the Twins aren't too bad, but righties, I think that's a potential target for Porcello. Hasn't played exactly how we had expected so far this year, but I think he can turn it around here. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, in the right spots, he's been pretty solid. I mean, mostly against the Rays. I feel like every time they play the Rays, we talk about Porcello as a cash game guy.
Yeah.
And, you look at the Twins, I mean, remotely not that good against right-handed pitching, high strikeout rate, heavy favorite. Obviously, I mean, there is a little bit concern that maybe he does give up 3 to 4 earned and doesn't quite have that strikeout rate to balance it out, but I do think he should be fine today.
Right, and kind of in the same way that Price, he's basically David Price without the strikeouts so far this year. He's given up that 3 to 4, but he doesn't totally get blown out. He's actually been a little better of late. So, yeah, it's not bad. I think he has a pretty reasonably high floor, though.
Yeah, I think so, too. And I'm not really looking to take Twins against him, even at their reduced prices.
No, not really.
So I maybe still Miguel Sano at 3.6. I still think that's might be my only GPP option just because of the ISO that he has.
Yeah, that's fair. Laura? Wait, let's see who it is. No, not Laura.
Laura, where are you?
I don't know.
Oh, man.
We got to have her on one day. Got to have her on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to get bummed out that Laura, she called all the time in the past, and now it's not coming. And deep down, I mean,
what do we do?
I'm getting emotional right now. I don't know why. Laura's not calling during the pods anymore.
I can see the tears welling up.
Yeah,
I can feel the emotion, and you know what, Jason, we're gonna get through this. All right,
we are. I mean, we're gonna pound through the rest of these games. We're gonna be fine, but
God, it hurts.
God, Laura, just give me a call. Give me a call,
or at least an email or something. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you give me a response. I mean, be respectful of my feelings.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. All right. All right. Let's go. Let's go. I'm rounding us up.
Back to the Sox here. Yeah, let's talk about the righties against Tommy Malone. Malone's allowed, a 330 WOBA to right-handers, a 1.24 since last year. Mookie Betts up in the air for the status. I don't mind him if he starts, but I think you got to look at Bogarts and Hanley, and even some of these back-end guys like an Aaron Hill or Bryce Brents for value.
I think they're in play, which is pretty wild. But yeah, I mean, Pedroia, I think Bogarts, Hanley, I mean, you're really looking at those guys pretty strong. Once again, I mean, Sox, I think we just fire away with this lineup once again. And it's not a full aced out slate like the day before. So you do like that, especially the 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Sox are projected for over 6 runs. It just seems like it's almost to the point where it's if they're playing in Coors every night, but they're not. Like, that's how good their offense is.
Right.
So I think you fire away, definitely. They're big favorites. I think you're definitely leaning them as one of the better offenses to target.
Right.
So Indians and Orioles here, Vance Worley versus Corey Kluber. Kluber, an intriguing GPP option for me just because of that high strikeout rate.
Let me ask you a question before we get into it. In terms of ownership, do you think the Orioles are going to scare people away from Kluber, or do you think Kluber is going to scare people away from the Orioles?
I think it's going to be a little bit back and forth. I do think that people are going to look and see these prices of the Orioles. When you get a Trumbo at 3.6, when you get a Chris Davis at 3.2, oddly enough, Machado's more expensive than what he's been over the last few days. But overall, I think you're going to look and be like, I'm not really going to touch Kluber that often, but I do think he draws still a 15 to 25% ownership in GPPs, which still is relatively high for a pitcher.
Yeah. So one of these times I want to zig if someone actually, if they zag off of Kluber. But I mean, he's been pretty consistently having a blow up every 3 to 4 starts this year, like 5 earned, 8 earned, and like not going deep into games. So he's the definition of a GPP for me so far this year, even though obviously his talent is of a cash game, consistent arm. If I can get a good handle on what the ownership is going to look like, which I think it's going to be a little lower than normal, I'm just going to zig with, if people aren't on him, I'll be on him. And I mean, if people aren't on the Orioles, I think they're a really intriguing GPP lineup.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I'm targeting. I think both sides are just GPP only, given the prices of the Orioles and their power. I mean, Kluber's done a fairly good job at keeping balls in the park, but just given the addition of this Orioles offense and Camden Yards and how that plays out,
yeah,
I don't think he comes in unscathed, but I would not be shocked to see him go 8 to 10 strikeouts just against his team if he has everything working.
Right. It's really just totally up in the air. So I think you can definitely fire away with him in GPPs. Like, I think you can make one lineup with him in it and then one with an Orioles stack, and I think that's totally a viable strategy.
Yeah, and it's odd because I do think Kluber is deserving of a win here. I mean, he's only a -130 favorite. Here we are, 6 o'clock Saturday, evening. But I mean, I expect the Cleveland bats to kind of put up runs against Vance Worley.
Yeah, I do too.
So I think with that being said, I mean, we can transition into the Indians, who are once again super expensive. I mean, good Lord. I mean, Lindor 5K, Kipnis 5.6. I mean, Jesus, man, give me a break.
That's rough. It keeps going up. I joked a few days ago, 20K. And then like the day before I was like, yeah, 20K, 500. And now it's like, they're getting towards 21K for that top 5 there. I mean, I don't get it. I'd much rather just go all in on the Red Sox instead of this. But they are in a good matchup. Like, I do think they're going to score, but it's not as extreme as they're priced.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if Chisenhall's in the lineup, he's the only one I really feel comfortable really throwing in, just price considered. I mean, the Indian stack, I mean, it's very expensive. It's one of those things where it's like they really have to go off for a monster outing to pay off those price tags. And
Yeah.
on a fuller slate with other good offenses, it just seems like I can kind of spend my money elsewhere.
Once you get to 55, 5,600, you don't need more than a home run, but you kind of need more than a home run in a tournament to actually pay that off, you know?
Yeah, I mean, because the chances are, like, let's take a look at Kipnis at 5,600. I mean, to pay off that price tag, I mean, he needs a monster game of like whether it's a 4-hit game or a double homer game or 6, 7 RBIs. So
Like he at least needs, 16 to 18 at a minimum, right? To pay that off pretty much, right?
and that's minimum, yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking for much more out of someone that's priced 5,600, and I'd rather kind of spend my money elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
So I mean, good offense, a really good spot, good ballpark, everything kind of checks out, but their prices for me.
Yeah.
So. Tigers White Sox next here. Jose Quintana versus Anibal Sanchez, and let's talk pitching real
Oh
quick.
no. Well, let's look at Anibal Sanchez, and now he's giving the White Sox a nice matchup here. It's so exciting.
He definitely is. So we'll talk White Sox bats. All priced under 4K, all in play for me.
All in play.
I think they're definitely in play. I like the way Todd Frazier's kind of heated up here since the All-Star break. He's priced at 3,700. Melky Cabrera has been rather consistent. Guys like Abreu and Eaton have kind of trailed off a little bit for me, but I don't mind this White Sox team to work in value.
Justin Morneau is like a friend who like disappeared 15 years ago, and he just popped around the corner the other day. Hey guys, how's it going? And like, oh, Justin's back. And he's hitting homers and like back to old times.
The thing is, he came in and hit a homer off my cash game pitcher. Like he just showed up and was like, hey guys, guess what? I've been like doing better things than you guys over the past few months, but guess what? I'm going to stoop down your level and then show you up. Yeah. Like that's what happened. But
exactly.
1 through 6 are in play. I mean, Anibal Sanchez has been horrible against both sides of the plate for this year. And in that ballpark, I don't think things will go well for Sanchez.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to say the White Sox will never be cash in my eyes. But they do have some cash-ish options, I think.
Yeah, I mean, with the consistency they've given us for this year, it hasn't been cash game worthy. But you kind of just look at the matchup and go, okay, they're borderline at this point. So right. I don't think I make them a focus in my cash games, but it's like if I have 4,000 left over for a third baseman, does Frazier fit in? Yes. Right. You know, I plug him in or I plug in Anderson. I don't go all aboard. It's just kind of a one-off in cash.
Yeah, and I think you can sort of do 2 or maybe even 3, but I wouldn't go all the way, but I think you can hit the middle of that lineup pretty hard and feel pretty good about your odds.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as the Tiger side goes, I mean, they're priced pretty cheaply against Quintana, who has been relatively good against right-handed bats. I mean, obviously there still is some potential for these right-handers. It's all GPP only for me. I don't touch these guys in cash games, but you're going to probably get me to target a Justin Upton or a Maybin at their prices. Yeah. Since Kinsler's been good against lefties, he's obviously the only one that's priced up higher.
Yeah, and the thing with the Tigers is I feel like regardless of the matchup, there's always going to be that ownership there with the Cabreras and Victor Martinez's of the world. So, yeah, I like that Upton call, but I feel like you're not probably going to get enough good enough ownership odds to sort of, jump in on the 3-4 there.
Yeah, I'm not a tremendous fan of the matchup. I just think deep GPPs for a value standpoint, I don't mind it.
Mm-hmm.
Cubs and Brewers next one here. We'll talk about John Lester first. Obviously, he's going up against a team that is heavily right-handed. He bounced back nicely against the start against the Mets. I mean, he was really struggling for the last few starts before the break there. And I do think he's in play. Obviously, the ballpark's not a great factor for him, but is a decent favorite. I do think he's cash game worthy. I think just because Kluber, I prefer Lester over Kluber in cash, just because they are similarly priced and obviously the ballparks are against them, but I just think the Brewers are a better matchup.
Yeah, and the Brewers have kind of been a Oh, you're having a rough time? Hey, we'll give you 10 strikeouts. So we've been seeing that quite a bit of late. And I think Lester's a good candidate to sort of not necessarily 10 Ks, but maybe 7 or 8. Gotta like that strikeout rate for the righties for Lester. So I think we can fire away. Borderline cash for me. Probably will be cash for me.
Yeah, I think Slate considered, I mean, looking at the pitchers around, I don't feel other comfortable options. I don't feel a general warmness in myself that there are a lot of guys cash game worthy. I think you are still taking a little bit of risk.
Right.
But in comparison to Kluber, in comparison to Lester, the risk feels more so with Kluber than it does with Lester.
Much more so, yeah. I think. I mean, even if Lester gives up a homer or two, you still got the rest of that lineup to feel pretty confident about his chances of averaging that out with strikeouts.
Yeah, and who knows that the Milwaukee bats doesn't rest someone.
Right.
I mean, we generally see a Braun rested or Luke Ray rested. I mean, that could happen again. If that's the case, I'll give a major bump to Lester there.
Yeah, and you just ride the chalk at that point because he'll be chalky if that happens, but who cares?
Yeah, and I think, let's look at Milwaukee. I mean, we've talked about Ryan Braun quite a bit over the last few days, and he's 4-9 all of a sudden against a worse matchup. So it makes it easy for me to just completely fade Milwaukee and not be really tempted in playing any of them.
Yeah, I mean, that was fun when he was 3,400 or whatever he was the last few days. That was really pleasant of them. But yeah, they obviously saw that and changed it.
As far as the Cubs go, I mean, Junior Guerra is not a perfect matchup, but it's not a bad one either. I mean, he's been fairly solid this year. I still think you got to look at this Cubs offense and think they can put up some runs, just like against a right-hander that, sure, I mean, he's been slightly above average this season, but I think you got to look at the park factors and look at this offense, feel pretty good about the offense.
Yeah, another reason to like Lester. I really like the offense's chances of doing well here. So you got to like that. Fowler back in the lineup. Again, we like Zobrist. Or I don't know if you do, but I do at 3.7. I mean, again, we can stretch our arms out a little bit and feel a little flexibility with the pricing. So I'm okay with going with a Rizzo on this type of slate.
Yeah, I mean, we bought the extra room package for our flight seats today. I mean, we got a little extra money to spend, so I don't mind the front three that are expensive for the Cubs. And as I do like Zobrist at 3.7, it's a really nice price tag. And I still do like the Cubs are one of those teams where they're like the Indians, they're like the Sox. I don't mind grabbing guys from the bottom of the lineup, so I feel comfortable targeting kind of this 1 through 8 all the way through.
Yeah, definitely.
So good ballpark. It's not the perfect matchup, but it's not a bad one either.
Yeah. Lukewarm.
Yeah,
just like the porridge, except it's not right. It's just boring.
Wait, porridge?
Yeah, the three little bears or whatever the saying was, or you know that story I'm talking about with the porridge. One's right, one's not, and the other one's not either. And this person's really picky, and then I forget what else happens.
I want to say someone dies.
Someone definitely in the real story. Someone definitely died.
Someone died in that porridge.
But in like the childhood story, who knows? Like, you know how the media works.
Oh, definitely. I mean, if we got like a Christopher Nolan that directed that Three Bears in the Porridge or whatever the hell it is, we get some death and some blood scenes.
Three Bears in the Porridge coming to you in August.
Oh man. Let's jump into the last two games.
Three Bears and the Porridge. BA.
I don't know what it is, but I'm definitely going to look it up after because I feel like I'm an idiot at this point for not knowing what that is.
Oh, we're definitely idiots for not knowing it. That's a basic.
Well, there was no question before that we were morons to begin with beforehand. It's just a further
on anything other than sports related topics. Yes.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Angels and Astros here. Mike Fiers versus Tim Lincecum, and for me, I mean, even though Mike Fiers is cheap, I'm not particularly intrigued with the matchup. I love the Astros offense here. I mean, and we talked about this for Saturday's slate as far as using the back end for some cheap value. They're in play, but I also even think just given the pitching, you got to like even an Altuve or Correa just given the matchup against Lincecum.
This is like that childhood game where the arm comes in and grabs some of the coins, and you throw coins in to like try to get them off the ledge. You know what I'm talking about?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. Well, there's this childhood game where you insert coins, and this thing, you get the coins that get pushed off the edge, and if you get a big chunk, you like it. Yeah. All right.
I don't know, man.
We're not going to go into this one. The point is, I want all the coins. I want to roster this entire lineup, especially the end of it with the price considered. But you got to like Altuve and Correa even at advanced pricing.
Yeah, I think so. And George Springer, I mean, a really good discount at 4-1. I mean, he's cash game playable for me leading off at that price against Lincecum.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think you got to feel comfortable about both sides. I think you got to look at this lineup when it comes out and look. Honestly, for me, 1 through 7, 1 through 8, I really don't mind it. And more of the back end guys are GPP-ish plays, just given that they are back end guys, but they do have some pop.
Valbuena. It's a Valbuena night. It's a Valbuena week, guys.
It's only been 2 days, so I think we can cool down the week. But it's definitely it's a Valbuena holiday weekend.
Okay.
You know,
you know what? I can settle for that. That's
the
fine.
kids take school off on Monday. It's a recognized holiday, a Valbuena weekend.
We pay our respects. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you're looking at the Astros here. I think it's pretty solid pricing as far as outside of Altuve and Correa, but as we've mentioned throughout here, it's certainly playable. And on the Angels side, I don't mind them here against Fires, but obviously they're GPP only. I don't mind some of the prices like at Calhoun. I mean, obviously I'm just kind of looking at the big trio there of Calhoun, Trout, and Pujols.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm doing. I'm not diving into the Jet Bandies of the world, though. You can if you want to, but that's not my thing.
No, the back end doesn't serve much purpose on a slate where there doesn't really feature a ton of pitching.
Although DeGod Gregorio Pettit might be back in the lineup, so that'll be exciting.
Yeah, and you always have had a thing for him. I mean, it's borderline creepy.
If you want 5 points, he'll get it for you. If you want 3 points, he'll probably get that for you too.
Yeah, I mean, Gregorio's the guy who, if you set your bar low, he'll definitely give it to you.
Yeah.
You know, on occasion, he'll meet your standards, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the last game of the day slate, of the main slate here. It's the Rangers and Royals, Edison Volquez versus AJ Griffin. Here, the Royals' prices are very cheap. I mean, I know they've been cheap the last couple of days because they pitched, they faced Hamels and Darvish, but it seems like they haven't completely readjusted. So, for me, I mean, fire away. I mean, there's a lot of value here.
For some reason, we see this a lot with the Royals. I don't know if it's because they're underperforming this year or whatever, but they get underpriced a lot on random days. So this is one of those random days. You definitely like Kendrys Morales, Eric Hosmer. I mean, even an Alex Gordon at the end there. He's weirdly the one that's priced up. But I mean, depending on how they ship this lineup, because there's a lot of different ways they can go here. But I mean, I like the 1 through 3, pretty much whoever it is, and I think Hosmer is going to be there. So definitely like that.
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I mean, over 4.5 runs projected for them. AJ Griffin's been kind of scuffling a bit lately. So I just think a day game and Kaufman with this Royals offense, I feel pretty comfortable. I mean, really using them in cash and GPP formats and kind of working them in and out of other stacks or just standalone or even as a stack. I think they just kind of they completely
they're just there for you. Yeah, they're just there with a hug when your prom date is mean to you. I'm not speaking from personal experience, but just like that, a nice warm hug.
Yeah, and on the Rangers side, I mean, they're remotely cheap as well against Volquez, who has been better off at home, but still overall, I mean, kind of a slightly above average right-handed arm. Can tame some offenses at times. I think the Rangers are in GPP formats just because of their prices. I mean, 1 through 5, they all are remotely very cheap, so I don't mind them.
They're a treat?
They're treep. It's a new word. They're
tripe?
They're treep. I can't think of anything that starts with a TR right now, but they're cheap.
The trees?
talk about the Rangers. I mean,
Jurickson Profar is basically the anti-Gregorio Pettit, someone that I actually liked and ended up doing pretty well. So that's exciting. He struggled of late, but I think he's a decent play here. I'm not too in on this Rangers lineup though, so I think other than that, probably not getting too invested in them.
Yeah, I think given the fact that it is a 12-game slate for a Sunday on the main, the Rangers don't come in as a jump-out offense in that ballpark or in this matchup. I'm looking at them at just more one-offs as far as GPP value goes.
Yes, sir.
So let's wrap things up here with the DraftKings Daily Trot. Be sure to check out DailyFantasyCafe.com for all our great tools and content.